Have you ever been playing in the tech spot on Supreme Isthmus and the entire game has just fallen away from you? Well, that's what this video is about. So let's get into it. We're going to start by looking at our early game, our build order, and then we're going to get into decision making and about what you should do if you notice your team is not winning the game. Let's get into it. So we're starting off with 3 mexes. The build order that we're doing here, you see I've actually got a nice little blueprint that I've got. Keep in mind, we're not actually going to be making these 3 guys right here. Well, they're replacements for something else, just so we can know exactly where we want to place our buildings. This build order, I have been cooking up recently. We're down to 6 minutes and 20 seconds average time to get all 4 AMEXs. So I'm confident this is pretty much the best build that you can do in this tech spot, because my thinking is you want to get all of your advanced metal extractors online as quickly as you possibly can, because, well, it's 2.3 metal versus the 9.2 metal that you're going to be getting through. So let's get our music a little bit louder in here and talk a bit about this. So first and foremost, this opening is a wonderful opening because it allows you to be immune from poor wind, at least in the early stages of the game. You know, once you're talking about 5, 6, 7 minutes, it's much less likely to be immune to wind. And I will just give you a bit of a forewarning right now, there is a huge wind stall in this game, but we're going to do our best to combat through it. So even at the moment, we're sitting well below average wind. You can see average wind on this map is 14.2. And let's talk a little bit about what the game plan here. So our game plan here on the tech position is to get all of our advanced metal extractors up as quickly as we can. We want to get our T2 constructor over to our air player as quickly as we can. And then once we've got our AMEXs up, we then want to hand out constructors to our pond player, our GOC player, and our beach sea player. Once we've done that, then we need to do an assessment. And to be honest, we can even assess before then. If front is falling, we can get a sniper out. If air is having some troubles, then we can make an aircraft plant. There's a lot of things that we can do to help and to influence from this tech position. It's not just specifically for scaling with APHIS. Don't get me wrong. I love to build an APHIS just as much as the next guy, arguably probably a little bit more. But let's focus on this build order and talk a bit about where we're at. So first, Lazarus is going to come out, grab some trees, and then move over to these trees. Second, Lazarus is going to grab all the rocks and then going to eat all the trees around it. First con comes out, drops the blueprint on that metal or that energy converter, and then goes up and looks to grab that mex before moving back. Second constructor is going to do the same thing. This one's going to be handed off down to our air player because very often they will request it. So you can see we're just letting it build naturally here using the build power of the lab, and it's going to come out. We're going to drop it down, and then we're also going to drop down the T2 lab, and then from here we'll hand it over to our ally. You can see he's wondering, where is my constructor? I don't know if this is necessarily late, but I think he's just a little bit keen to get his constructor over there. So from here what we're going to be doing is just making sure we're juggling our build power onto our advanced lab, and we're beginning to move our commander. Now, one of the good things about this build that I love is your commander literally moves. I can't actually draw, but he goes from here down to here, over to here, and then he goes down here and blows up. He moves very little. And that's essentially what you want to try and optimize in the early game. Now, this is very weak to a bomber, right? If a bomber came in, we're not going to have a good day. But we're kind of hoping that we just don't get bombed. That's pretty much it. So we're now going to reclaim our lab using our build power here. And one of the things that we want to always do is make sure that we keep space just in case for that metal donation. Eventually that metal donation will come through. You can see we're about to blow here, 331, but that metal has just come through from our ally, so we can delay it a little bit. We want to blow, and we blow right on the edge, you can see here, and that's going to do a little bit of damage to our lab, but it ends up doing about 2 or 3% damage to the advanced bot lab, so it's not a huge issue. So we're quite early at this stage. We haven't faced any stalls throughout this game, even though wind has not been particularly kind. You can see it's always been hovering. I don't think we've had 19 wind this game, and at this stage, so we're now about to get our bot out, so we've got a 4-minute timing here, which is not too bad. We also need to get our Hercules. This is going to be a key component to this, and what we're looking to do is get all 4 of our blueprints up and keeping them alive. Even if we wind stall, it's going to be okay as long as we keep them alive. That's the key. Because if we have to, let's say we build these 3 advanced metal extractors and we didn't build this 4th one, that means that for us to rebuild, or for us to get that, we then need to build an advanced construction bot, which means we need to fork out it. The metal's not the problem. The problem's the energy. So we'd have to fork out 6,900 energy, and that's a lot of energy. So it's much easier to do this. So if you can get a really early T2 con like this, we can get them out, and you can see now we're juggling that build power here around the circle, and then that's going to allow us to leverage this, and this is going to give us a huge metal advantage every second over our opponent. So once again, we're just juggling, and unfortunately our Hercules is left without his man. You got to get back there, my friend. And so what we're doing here, this is, I kind of like doing this here, how we juggle the build power. You kind of step side to side. So we put the build power in on it, and then you step side to side just to keep juggling it, because that's what this is all about. And you can see we do have a pretty bad e-stall. We've been stalling for a while now. Unfortunately, it's not immune to it. So yeah, we kind of step side to side and then right click, and that's what you want to do, because you want to minimize the amount of resources you're putting into this while keeping the blueprint online. So we're only at the 5-minute 20 mark. We've got our first AMEX up. Our ally is now building their advanced metal extractors. We could have been much faster if we hadn't forgotten the old man, but we kind of left him behind there a little bit. And then from here, what we're going to be looking to do is transport our construction turrets with the Hercules in between. If we take a look at these construction turrets to the top side, you're able to fit in between. You can probably fit about 5 of them all in there. And so you just got to make sure that you put it down correctly. But yeah, that's essentially the way it opens up. So we're at the 6-minute mark. As I said, my goal is 6:20, and we can do a 6-minute 20 every single game as long as we don't have a really bad wind stall. And I would say this game's been pretty bad when it comes to average wind. Yet despite that, we still get a pretty competitive time. Now, let's do just a quick assessment here at this stage, because we could potentially go into a sniper at front, but front's looking okay. We can see they've got stronger players up towards the front, our weaker players up here, but we do have Pond and our yellow player that are quite good, so it's holding for the moment. C to the north, that's looking a little bit concerning. I'm not even sure whether or not Teflon 3000 has contested C today, or whether or not he will, but that is a bit concerning. And to the south, we've also got a missed matchup on this C here. You can see that we've got Baby Oil on one side, and he's up against our OS 20 player. So undoubtedly, that's going to be a bit of a hill to climb. So behind the scenes, we've now moved our nanos over here, and you can see someone asking, why does nobody change their turrets to high priority? That's because if you change them to high priority, it's going to overrule your advanced metal extractors. So your advanced metal extractors require energy to be on, and if you've got high priority listed on your construction turrets, that's going to overrule them and say, hey, give me the energy instead of the advanced metal extractors, and then that means, you know, we're losing out metal. Now you can see we're getting donated a huge amount of metal here from Teflon because he's not doing a whole much up here, but it doesn't really change the game plan for us. So you can see we're at 7 minutes 17 now, and we've had our AMEXs up for a while. So despite those wind stalls, we still get all 4 of our AMEXs up before, I think it was at the 7-minute mark, pretty much on the dot here. Ally is completely online as well. So we are absolutely cooking in the backline right now. The trouble is, well, we might be cooking in the backline. Out here, we've got trouble. And one of the key things to be thinking about as the game goes longer, especially from the tech, the eco position, is what's my win condition? How am I going to win this game? And there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but normally you're going to look to try and take that through a winning lane. So as an example, let's say your beach C has won. Let's say that they've managed to overrun your opponent. Then you can look for an attack from this angle, whether that be Marauders up through here, whether that be, say, Pelicans or something like that, whether it is a bombing run that targets in through from this angle. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it. By the same token, up towards the north, you can look to do the same thing. You've got a lot of room to move on this beach C. If your air is doing well, you can lean into air. And if your front is doing well, you can lean into front. And one of the things that I'm quickly realizing in this game is that the walls are collapsing around us. As we now begin to hand out T2, you can see that we've already handed off the first T2, or I guess technically the second T2, to our ally here, who's going for his own T2 lab. We got to work on this build. That's all right. We'll get there. So third T2 now coming out. We're at the 8-minute mark here, and we've got the next T2 that's going to be coming down over to our Beach C player. But of course, at this stage, he doesn't really have a whole lot going for him. You can see the commander's in the water. He's got the bot lab up here. He's struggling. He's struggling, but he'll do his best. And I think that's really what it's important to be able to recognize this, because the truth is, at this stage of the game, we could just look to double down on economy and try and hope that our scaling is going to be better than our opponent. If we go to take a look at our opponent right now, so we've got the 4 AMEXs up. We're at the 9-minute mark. How's he doing? He's got 1, 2, 3 AMEXs up, and he's building the 4th AMEX. It's at 20%. We've also got the fusion that is coming up behind here. If we have a look at the eco count, we're relatively far ahead. How are we doing on the metal count? I'm curious. So our enemy on the other side is 11.7k, and we're 13.2k. So we're already up 1.5k metal because of that. So if you think about 1.5k metal, that's a wind turbine is 40. So you're talking about almost 40 wind turbines, and then 40 wind turbines, average of 14.2. Then the metal that they get from the energy converters, right? Like, you could do the math. It's a fair amount of difference between these two. So it's incredibly important in my mind to get that 4th AMEX up, just so that you can keep, as long as it doesn't hurt your air player. That's the key, right? And it all comes just down to speed. So at this point, we're going to be looking to start scaling our butlers. So you can see we've begun moving them across here. And this is a key component to, I think, any eco or tech player. The one thing that I am still a bit curious about is just with regard to construction turrets and with regard to butlers and which one's the better option. I mean, I know what's better. I know that a construction turret with a single butler is probably the best way that you could do it, but it makes it very difficult to micromanage. Anyway, so we've now reclaimed our main lab. We've built our metal storage here, and this is where we're doing a bit of an assessment. Okay, what are our options? You can see that we've lost C to the north. We've lost C to the south. Andy B is about to become Andy Bean. That was a good one. No, Andy B's not going to be too much long for this world. So we've got to start thinking outside the box about how we do this. So when it comes to our win conditions, we can't tick off any boxes here. We can't tick off any boxes here. One of our potential win conditions is down here. As you can see, our air player is doing very well when it comes to his build. He's on time, 11 minutes. He's got the double fusion, a huge amount of metal being converted at the moment, and about to go into T2. A little bit of a weak spot for him at the moment. If a T1 bombing attack was about to come through, he'd be very troubled. Let's just put it that way. Meanwhile, what are we doing? We're looking to get our fusion up, and we're also going to be looking to get our anti-nuke up. This is something that I've been doing quite a bit recently, just because one of the things that will happen is people will bring in I think it's called the Spectre or the Ghost, and if you put your anti-nuke on the lower ground, they will just blow it up. And of course, you can put the Tracer in, but the truth is, like, really want to spend 710 on a Tracer? Nah, just bring him up. It's so much easier when you do it like this. So anyway, that's what we're that's what we're going to be doing for this game. Sorry, just looking at the chat at the moment. YouTube, not my words, their words. But yes. Anyway, so at this stage, mid is doing relatively well, and this is good because it gives us an avenue to potentially attack down, and we've still got that air avenue. The trouble is, when you think about air, you need a direction to be able to attack. So, as you can see here, bro, it's 11 minutes and the entire seas are dark. So, essentially, we can't cross the seas with air. We can't cross it with hovers. We can't do anything with regard to the sea. You can see Leo's trying to get into the sea up here. But even that, you know, it's going to be very hard considering your ally has basically lost it. If this was a little bit earlier, he definitely could have won this sea. But unfortunately, it's just, when the sea goes this quick, it's very hard to have an input on it, maybe with the exception of an air player who can potentially offer shurikens. So as you can see, I guess we're running it down mid then. So our play here is to recognize our only potential avenue for victory here, because as this game goes on longer, more and more raids will come through, more players will die. Eventually this Geo is going to get degunned by the C player. Eventually the Marauders are going to come up through here. This is going to get bombed. We're going to start losing out because of these Cs. So what we need to do is recognize where can we go right now and take advantage of it. And the answer is the vehicle plant. It's a whole bunch of stouts. So our goal here is to build up 100 stouts. Not really 100 stouts. It's probably closer to 50. We're going to build up 100 stouts. There we go. That's the number. We're going to look at the front and we're going to try and work out where's the path of least resistance, because one of the key things that we're aiming to do here is we want to get past, we want to get into the back line. Because if we think about what is the enemy eco player doing right now, they're probably making APHIS. They're probably scaling. They've probably got their butlers building wind turbines the same way that we do. But all of that metal that they've got is probably going into more nanos. It's probably going into fusions. Could be going into nukes, right? Like, there's lots of different things that you could be doing with it. But what we're doing is looking to try and get a little bit more out of our metal sooner. So while they're investing it in larger projects, we're investing it into action right now. And that's going to cause a mismatch in the amount of units that are on the field. So, because if you've got units that are coming through from here, and units from here, units from these four positions, you're not expecting units from this position right here. And because of that, it means that we're going to be able to take advantage of that. So out here we can see, at the moment, we've got the T2 air that's come out from our ally. Let's check in with the other air player on the enemy team. Ooh. It's actually, so this is one of the interesting things that I've noticed. Air is one of those positions. It's like, if you've got a player on your team who is lower in skill and they're playing air, you really want to do your best to try and make sure you're helping them out. Just because air can be so decisive. Once you've got a big lead like this, see you can see the number of fighters that he's built up here. This is going to allow him to really leverage his air advantage and look for potential bombing runs as well. Meanwhile, back towards our base, what are we doing? We're not doing anything other than scaling. So we've moved a nano out here, and I think like this is probably something I'm going to start trialing, is like building the nanos in the base and then just transporting them out and then just building around them. I was actually like testing like just dropping a nano here and then just building a whole bunch of stuff around it. So I think that could be decent. So at the moment, we're up to 30 stouts because we've queued up 100 of them. So there we go. We've got 31 at the moment. And what we're now looking to do is we need to scout the front, because we need to understand the biggest threat to us and our big stout attack is a commander. If we know where the commanders are, we can avoid the commanders. And that's essentially the goal. We know that the enemy team's got 4 commanders, so there's a good chance there could be one on either of these sides of the mountain, which could potentially, it could ruin our attack. Let's just go with that. Thwart our attack is what I was thinking. Meanwhile, our air player is still doing really well. He's got air superiority here. His opponent, like if we compare these two, we've got 1 fusion T1 versus 2 fusion T2. Like it feels almost impossible to win air in this position unless your ally helps out with air. But it doesn't look like the enemy eco has realized that, instead going for a nuke. Of course, we've got our anti-nuke that's nice and safe. Even if he wants to try and do something sneaky or cheeky, he's not going to be able to do it. I don't think there's any way you can really nullify this. Maybe if you had like an EMP up here and then you... That would pretty much be it. Maybe you could transport a ghost up here. That would be pretty cool. Respector. So at this stage, we're down now to our last stout. So let's ride on board here, because we're now about to just... We're not changing our mind. What we're doing is looking at it as our insurance policy. Instead of just keeping on building more and more stouts and reinforcing the front, we're looking at a big potential attack that is going to do a lot of damage, and if it does that damage, then it should buy us some time to hopefully get in a good eco position, and from there we can look to do another attack. Maybe we go into a whole bunch of air or something like that. But that's essentially the goal here. We've recognized that, hey, C to the north is losing. C to the south is losing, though we do have a second player now out over on C as well. But at this stage, in my mind, this is the only play that I can make to try and salvage this game potentially, because if we lose out on this south, actually Leo's done a really good job. But you know what? Both of them have done a decent job in kicking it back, but now they're going to be up against the battleships. They're making battleships of their own though. Are they doing a little bit of communism out here? It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. Anyway, stouts. The action. This is what it all comes down to, the stouts. So the great thing about stouts is they're quick. They're tanky. And because of that, it means that you can just kind of ignore defenses, right? You don't have to really, you don't have to necessarily play around them. You know, if you're going for a whole bunch of platypus, if there's enemy defenses, you typically want to avoid them. Stouts, not the case. So I begin to push forward, and I notice, hold on a minute, our ally is building an EMP. And I noticed this way too late, because by the time I realize, I'm like, that's at 98%. Hold on, we should just wait for it, and then we can just hit the front. But unfortunately, I didn't realize it got scouted by a tick, and I said, okay, well, if they've scouted us now, then we've just got to go. We've just got to commit. Our ally is obviously, with his air superiority, doing a wonderful job here, and I think this is probably the eco. If we take a look at the eco, he's building a whole bunch of anti-air, but I think what would have been a better call was to like go air himself, maybe even a little bit earlier. But back towards the front, the stouts making their way through. We've got quite a bit of pork that is here. We can also see there's T2 enemy vehicles that we've intentionally dodged, as well as the commander. So they kept them up here. And because of that, we're now able to leverage our speed, we're vehicles, and our strength as a stout to be able to get through this front line. And this front line was pretty much the only thing that was left standing at the time that we made our decision. Up towards the top, we've still got the sea that is in control of the enemy team. The south is slowly being taken control of, though. I tell you what, it looks quite nice. They're doing a good double team down there. And at this point, we've made it through. We've broken through that front. We've recognized, hey, this probably isn't going to work if we just full eco. We got to start making units. And I think that is probably the best solution to what you could do in a game where your doors, your windows are slowly closing. As we can see, more and more stouts just making their way. I love to just sort of move them out like this, like have them all. I do a nice big arc. And then that single attack has been the nail in the coffin of the enemy. And we could see that the nails were slowly being driven in, right? Our air player was doing an incredible job to turn this around. I got no idea how he's only OS 35. This guy, oh, his name is King of Smurfs. Why does it say King of Smurfs? I wouldn't be surprised if he is the King of Smurfs. Like, he is a really good air player. I don't want to toot his horn or anything, but like, yeah. And the enemy team gives up. And then obviously we just managed to win the C here as well. So things were definitely turning back in our favor. But I think the stout push was instrumental in victory today. Able to pull that back. And of course, in the end, we do also produce the most resources. So if we take a look at the graph, I want to quickly just check on the metal. So if we've got metal produced, so our enemy, I think it was the purple player. So you can see right here, metal produces also, oh, that's when you eat the lab. So you can see he goes up right at the same time that we do, but we're miles ahead of him on that, just because we get that extra mechs up faster. And because the mechs is up faster, it allows us to scale our wind faster. And because our wind is scaling faster, we're able to scale our converters faster, which gives us more metal in return. It's just a beautiful little feedback loop. But anyway, that's a little look at something that you can do from Eco if you notice that the walls are closing in on you. Anyway, we'll leave it there, and hopefully you've enjoyed this video.